Jumps on the crown with massive basket.
3. You are kidding me.
And the fire burned brightest. Townsville are WNBL champions for the 4th time.
Perth Lynx taking on the Sydney Flames at the Bendat Basketball Centre in Noongar Country in Western Australia. It is, of course, WNBL Indigenous round. We've got lots of Perth fans in the house hoping that their team can take home an opening night win for them. My name is Julia Montesano and I'm joined by NBL 1 National Championship coach Mark Alabakov. And Mark, we're in for a pretty exciting contest with 2 new-look teams.
We really are. We've got to shelve what we think we know about both of these teams. Both are retooled and rebuilt. You've got Perth, who are going to be as fast and as furious as ever, but with new faces, and the big addition of Annalie Maley, the former MVP. Then you've got Sydney, who's on the dawn of a new era, building with a foundation of 3 Australian opals with championship experience in Lauren Nicholson, Tess Madgen and Kayla George.
And Kayla George on screen, as you mentioned, fresh off a WNBA championship. Of course, congratulations to her. She's part of a big suite of off-season signings across the league, Mark. And she is, of course, one of the past 2 Susie Bakovic medalists, now playing for different teams. Annalie Maley, as you mentioned, with Perth. So how is it going to affect each team tonight?
Well, it's unprecedented for 2 MVPs to change clubs in the same off-season, but what they're going to deliver to both programs is you've got genuine, proven clutch performers. They're both game changers in their own right, but they're athletes also capable of winning a game off their own bat.
There's heaps of great imports around the league as well, Mark, and that's been part of the big off-season. We're seeing a couple of massive names pop up onto the screen, but each team tonight has 2 exciting imports, with Atlanta's Ari McDonald and Canadian Emily Potter joining Perth, and of course American duo Paige Bradley and Dee Dee Richards suiting up for Sydney. So which import are you most looking forward to watching tonight?
Well, judging from the River City rebound in the preseason, Ari McDonald was eye-catching for me. She's got incredible change of pace, an incredible top speed that she can get to that's at an elite level. She can shoot the 3, she gets on the free throw line 1 in every 3 shot attempts, but she gets others involved. She's going to be a real engine room for the Perth Lynx this season.
And we're going to have a look at what the Perth Lynx have got to offer in a minute tonight, because their starting 5 is going to be pretty changed from last season. We see Goodchild heading it up, Gorman, McDonald, Hannon and Forster. So that's making up their whole side. And then, of course, you've got some big names on the bench there as well. And I'm sure they'll flick into the starting lineup as well. But they'll be hoping to continue their pre-season form, Mark, where they went 3-0 at that Riverside Rebound tournament in Brisbane. So they'll be looking to take one step further tonight and get the win in real time.
Yeah, and while there's new faces, it's still a similar type of game plan for the Perth Lynx under coach Ryan Petrick. It's going to be high octane. They try to score or get the ball down the floor within 7 seconds or less. They run a whole lot of quick hit actions to try and get either to the rim. It's a very key or 3 type of mentality. So a furious pace is what I'm expecting from them.
And same thing probably with Sydney as well. It's going to be a completely new look team for them. You'll see a lot of different names as this sheet comes up here. And, of course, coached by Guy Malloy returning. And there's a few famous faces in the back. I can see Luke Longley and Bob Murphy back there ready to watch the game. But Sydney's lineup looking pretty good there, Mark. Yeah,
I mean, you've got the foundations being 4 pillars of championship experience. I mentioned Nicholson, Madgen, George. They've all won championships, but then Guy Malloy, his last start in the WNBL was holding up a championship trophy with the Melbourne Boomers. So, quite a foundation there to be able to build their program on moving forward. Absolutely right.
And we've got some potent people in the house, and of course a potent new app to deal with this season as well. The the official WNBL app is finally here. We don't want you to miss a minute of the action, therefore, for live scores, highlights, all your player and team info and more, download the free WNBL app today. We're glad that's here in play. And Mark, while we're watching the players warm up, it's a great opportunity to talk about these amazing Guernseys that each of the teams are wearing. Of course, the referees have also got some great shirts on tonight as well. Craig Copes, Kyle Easter and Travis Stewart will be officiating the action tonight. But for each team's Guernseys, Perth's Guernsey is titled Nambian, and has been designed by Jalen Scott, who is the niece of former Lynx player Jenny Bedford. And of course, Nambian is one of the many traditional skin names of the Jaru Nation. And then Sydney's Guernsey, that has been designed by Stuart James, a proud Wiradjuri man of the Nurrundera Murrumbidgee River people. So 2 great Guernseys on display tonight, 2 great teams on display tonight, 2 new look teams on display tonight as well. It's going to be some scintillating action here from the Bendat Basketball Centre as we tip off in front of a great crowd to start off proceedings here. So Lynx in the black tonight, different from their usual red, and then Sydney in the white. And they're looking for an option early on. It's high octane already. It's exactly what we expect from Ryan Petrick's Perth outfit. High octane offense, high octane defense as well. It's George. Oh, feeds it beautifully down. Oh, and just can't finish off the shot there was Nicholson.
Unlucky Nicholson. That was the same offense that they ran the very first play of the River City rebound series as well.
God, you have a good memory there, Mark. That's great. Now Perth looking to open their account through Potter. And a bit of a shaky start for both teams. It must be some opening night nerves. Bradley had a pretty promising pre-season account of her own. Playing for Hobart in NBL 1. George again tries to dish off a fancy pass. Is it going to pay off this time? It won't. It's Atwell that comes up with the boards for Perth. She might pull up here. That falls short, and a great rebound. And she'll head to the line for a couple of free throws early on.
For the Lynx, it's that 7 seconds or less type of offense. As soon as there's a change of possession, you see them stream down the floor at a rate of knots, and they try to get either to the rim or get a clean look at the three-point shot. Amy Atwell doing a heck of a job being able to get her own rebound there and then try for a putback.
So Amy Atwell looking to get the first points of the night, and does so there. Of course, Amy Atwell has also had a big off-season with your team, Mark, winning the NBL 1 National Championship. And she comes in off some hot form and gets the 2 points on the board nice and early.
We're seeing a half-court trap here from Perth.
And it works in their favour as Atwell can go again and get her first field goal of the night. So Amy Atwell on fire to start things off. It's worrying signs for Sydney, but it's in the right hands right now with Kayla George into Nicholson. Kicks it out to Bradley. Nice looking shot and a good rebound from Nicholson. She'll get it back. Shot clock ticking down to 7. So Nicholson has to go, gets it to George. And now Richards for her first WNBL points for Sydney. Not quite.
Terrific job by Mila Goodchild in that possession to try and hold the dangerous Lauren Nicholson to her right hand. It's incredibly hard to stop when you let her go to her left.
Ari McDonald, we spoke about her before in the opener. Going to be an exciting player to watch all season. She's getting to work here on Bradley. Potter. Maley was free, couldn't find her. That shot won't count. So an offensive foul to start her account tonight. Good D by both teams to start. Here's George. Fresh off the plane this week and straight into her first WNBL game of the season. Nice little move by Rowe, and that one just rims out. So Atwell into Maley, the two captain and vice captain combine. Potter pulls up from the elbow. That's a nice looking shot.
And that's a game changer. If you've got your centre that's able to shoot from that deep 2 or 3 point range, really spreads the floor for your offense.
Richards wants the same on the opposite end. And gets the first bucket for Sydney tonight. Atwell looking to go again, but George too tall, too strong. Gets fouled on the approach.
Now that's harmful. That's 2 fouls now on Emily Potter. That's going to send her to the bench. So early on, the Perth Lynx going to be tested for their centre depth.
So Clinch Hoycard comes on for some early minutes. Perth local. She's got the job on George early on. Bradley. Kicks it out to Richards. And now George. Spinning around Clinch Hoycard and can't bank it in. Maley's there for the rebound, which I think will save for a lot of occasions this season. She gets fouled on the way in as well. Very sort of disruptive play for both teams, you could call it, to start off with.
Yeah, and I think the pace that Perth plays with, and especially a player like Anneli Maley, who is able to navigate tight spaces at the height that she is and the quickness that she possesses, it's hard not to foul her.
Nice dish into Atwell, who's on fire to start this one here at the Bendat Basketball Centre. Bradley now into Richards. Rowe. They share it around here, Sydney. What can George do with it? Has to pull up. That one falls short. Good defense here by Perth. Leading 8-2 early doors. Maley just lost it there. So Rowe can get going here for the Flames. Bradley, nice little step through. Richards, a nice step through of her own, and she banks that one home.
And traditionally a left-handed driver from what I've been able to pick up, so her being able to get to the basket on her right side makes her incredibly dangerous.
Clinch Hoycard wants a long shot but doesn't get it. The Lynx will have another go here. Leading by 4 early on. There was an article earlier today in the West Australian that Perth said there's not going to be many games where the score is going to be 60-56 or around that margin. So they're looking to put the points on the board this season. So they're doing so far. Here's McDonald. Pulling up for a 3. That one falls short. Nicholson's there. She gets going. Lauren Nicholson, little hezzy, and this has to give it away. Clark from the corner. Maley's there. Into McDonald. We know what she does with all that speed. Can't get the basket on that occasion. Good child for 3. That looks good.
Both of those possessions, you see that Perth Lynx getting down the floor, getting to the point of the rim within 7 seconds, and then it's the offensive rebound and kick out that's hard to then scramble out and defend.
Panousis now on for her first minutes of the season. Gets it back from Clark. George now. Here is Emma Clark driving in. That's a beautiful move by Emma Clark.
And prime for a big season, Emma Clark. She's come off a great year in the NBL 1 West.
Maley, good spin, good bucket. So 13-6, the Lynx leading at Bendat Basketball Centre in front of a really good-looking crowd. Friday night hoops. Richards pulls up. Clark's able to tap it out. She's open again, but George elects to go back. And now Nicholson can start things again. Shot clock down in single figures. Nicholson pops it up. Can't get it to go.
Just looking a little disjointed on the offensive end. Second guessing, hesitating. Not what you'd commonly see from a...
Oh, Maley and one!
I was going to say what you would normally see from a Guy Malloy coach team. So just finding their way. It's indicative of a first quarter for a team in a season.
Beautiful drive here from Anneli Maley. Wants to get back to the top of that MVP table.
And if you check the shot clock, 17 seconds left. It's 7 seconds, right?
So Anneli Maley at the free throw line. That one just rattles out. She's got 2 buckets to start off this game already. Clark. That one gets slapped out of her hands. So Perth doing it on both ends early on. So Clark can't really find that option, gets McSpadden. Now Nicholson gets to work on clinch Hoycard. Panousis. Back to Nicholson. And it gets swatted away. McDonald in a foot race with Panousis. She wins out and gets the bucket to go.
So quick and just gets a hand right in that passing lane, knocks the ball loose, and she's on the tip of the rim.
3 straight buckets here for Perth. What have Sydney got to respond? They go back. McSpadden with it now. Nicholson, that shot clock ticking down, and again they lose it. And this time it's Chibatoni back on for her first game of the season.
It's great to see her back in the league.
Maley feeling it. That time it didn't go in. That's right, Alex Chibatoni back from giving birth to her son Elijah. Coached the Southwest Slammers in the off-season as well.
Is there anything she can't do?
Not much things. Not much at all. McSpadden, long two, that's better. A much-needed basket for Sydney. Just haven't quite got that synergy yet. Didn't play together as a full squad in that pre-season tournament up in Brisbane. Perth did, and you can tell by tonight's game so far. McDonald, that one just falls short. Clark getting to work on Chibatoni. Gives it off to Rowe. Spinning back around. Nicholson finds a shot on the elbow, and that one doesn't go either. What can Maylee do with it? The team leading 17-8. Just over 2 minutes left in this high-octane first term. Surrounded by Sydney players, gets the pass away, but just over Gorman's head.
Great job by the off-ball defenders from Sydney to shrink all of the space around Maylee. Maylee does a heck of a job of getting to the rim, and she can navigate tight spaces, so being able to help in and shrink all of that room around the ball forced her to have to make a pass, and she throws it out of bounds.
So Dee Dee Richards to inbound here for Sydney. Into Panousis. Vanessa Panousis set for a big season as well. Had some promising games towards the back half of last season. It's a good dish to McSpadden.
Yeah, great pass. A really good finish there by McSpadden at the rim.
Perth off and going again, but this time it didn't quite pay off, so they'll get another go at it.
And this is going to be the litmus test for the duration of the season for the Perth Lynx. They'll do a heck of a job in transition and playing fast, but can they execute in the half court or from these sideline, baseline situations to be able to get the shots that they want?
Goodchild, one of the new faces for Perth. Can't quite get her first bucket in Lynx colours. Panousis now. Can Sydney end this first term on a high note? Panousis finds an option in Rowe in the corner. Gets it back. And they'll have another chance here. Sydney with the shot clock down in single digits. Richards fires a three. And Gorman's there for the rebound. Maylee can get going again here for Perth. Driving around three different Sydney players, and the pressure got to her in the end. Clark pulls up for a three of her own, and that's nothing but net.
That's a big shot. They needed that one to go down.
So Goodchild now into Clint Choikard. Gorman looking for her first WNBL bucket. Unselfishly gives it to Goodchild, and now Richards. Did she finish off the first term here for Sydney on a high note? No. Goodchild gets off and running. She's only got Panousis ahead of her. Gets the M1 to go.
That's a tough finish, being able to ride the contact and then control her body in the air, finish under that pressure as well. Huge first bucket for Mila Goodchild. She's another athlete that I think is primed for a big season in the WNBL. As we see her there, being able to ride the contact, still keep in control of her body, and then finish over the top of the defender.
22 WNBL games for Mila Goodchild, most with the Melbourne Boomers, her first season with Perth. She gets the M1 to go. So Panousis now getting it into Rowe and gets cut off by Clint Choikard. Great athleticism. Speaking of athleticism, here's McDonald. Oh, somehow tried to put it back in. And that'll be the end of the first term. An action-packed first term at Bendat.
Wilson, long range shot from the car park. And Alex Wilson now starting to light things up.
Davo Hickey upstairs.
Love it. He's been exceptional.
Big hit from Evie Cabillo.
Welcome back to the Bendat Basketball Centre, where it's Perth leading Sydney by 7 after a high-energy first term. Julia Montesano and Mark Alabakov with you. Mark, what did you make of that first quarter? Obviously, the Lynx got on top of the Flames in the end.
Yeah, both finding their way. Perth did a great job with their sagging defense, so being able to blow up any dribble penetration that Sydney tried to initiate towards the rim. They forced 5 turnovers. The use of the half-court trap was particularly effective. And then they scored 9 points on fast breaks and 12 points within the paint. So being able to attack the hoop on their own end. For Sydney, I thought Vanessa Panousis did a great job of being able to bring stability to their lineup. She organised their offense. They found their way a bit better with their execution, but then with that comes the ability to prep your defensive transition. So on the back end of that quarter, they forced the Perth Lynx to have to play more in the half court as opposed to just getting it and going at high octane within 7 seconds, as I've been mentioning.
And the big name players in action already for Perth. Mila Goodchild with 6 points. Atwell also on 6. Maley with 4. And then for Sydney, Dee Richards off to a good start with 4. So too McSpadden and Clark with the 5 points as we get ready to start the second quarter here in Nguyen Country in WA. Lynx 20, Flames 13. A lot talked about the Sydney Flames in the off-season, bringing in a trio of Australian opals to their side as Richards gets them off to a good start. Here's McDonald, the other import of the night, or one of the other imports of the night. 4 on the floor. Clinch Hoycard. Can't get her 9 off just yet. Richards off and running. Has Gorman to deal with. Gets it back from Bradley. Rowe kicks it back out. Sydney just working their way through this Perth defense at the moment. Clark swings it back up to George. Shot clock down to 4. And Maley picks up the boards. McDonald thought about the 3 and then thought about it again. Bradley's there to pick up the pieces there for Sydney. Goodchild tried to slot it away, but Bradley was good enough to keep the ball in her hands and get a nice pass off to George. That's better from Sydney.
Just patient off the on-ball, being able to get to the middle of the floor where she's got a good passing angle, both down to the basket and opposite.
And this time Sydney get the stop here at Travel on the Perth offense from Goodchild. And just like that, they find themselves within 3. So a good talking to from Guy Malloy would have got them revved up. This great start to the second term. Bradley to George. Loves that spot. Couldn't get it to go tonight. Maley into Gorman. McDonald. Wants to get to work on Bradley. Finds a lane through the baseline and then dishes it off to Goodchild. Clark. As calm as ever in defense. Richards now. Can't put that one in. Maley picks up yet another rebound for the night. Rowe fell onto the ground, so too did Maley, but she'll get to go to the foul line for her troubles.
She's excellent at elevating over the top of people, so being able to stop on a dime and elevate over the top of the defender's hands. And then she's awkward, right? Where she lands, it's hard not to land within her space, right? So there, Paige Bradley kind of gets a toe in the road. Maley goes to the ground, gets on the free throw line out of the play.
So a 5th point for the game to go with 6 rebounds. Already on the verge of a double-double. Annalie Maley. She's in fine form to start off this one. Looks like Amy Atwell's going to re-enter the game. Maley does take a well-deserved rest. It doesn't get easier for Sydney. 1 playmaker off, 1 comes straight on.
Perth again in this half-court trap. So trying to disrupt the flow of the Sydney Flames. Chew some seconds off the shot clock. So Paige Bradley still organising. There's now 9 seconds left on the shot clock. So Perth being able to achieve what they intended.
Here they go on offense once again. Potter back on after those 2 early fouls. Gorman for her first WNBL points. Not quite. Rowe this time. Gets it off to Bradley. Bradley tries to get through those 2 Perth players. Richards is there to help out. No whistle there, so Perth can get going on the offensive end. Gorman into Potter, the 2 new players combining, and it just rattles out for Potter.
Going to take the glad wrap off the rim. That was impressive by Potter.
Nicholson now. George can't get free, so Nicholson tries to go, and Gorman just reaches in. Lauren Nicholson finding it tough out there. No points for her tonight so far.
And this is what you have to do, especially when Nicholson's going towards her left. I mean, Gorman's reached in and tried to chop the ball loose there, but you've got to get in the road. You've got to try and disrupt her ability to get a straight line drive to the rim.
Of course, Nicholson back at the club she started at with the Sydney Flames. Played at Townsville last year. Championship winning fire team. And she might get her first points, and she does. Lauren Nicholson on the board. Didn't take her long. And Bradley can't get the cherry on top. Gets the rebound, though. And Sydney's still in it through George. Just wants to slow it down. Bradley finds a lane and finds a bucket to go with it as well. Flames down by 1. McDonald wants to get Lynx back in the ascendancy. Atwell pulls up for a long 3. That's her sweet spot, Amy Atwell.
You can't give Amy Atwell rhythm threes. Just too world-class a shooter.
What has Sydney got to respond to that? A much-needed 3 there from Perth. Their first points of the second period. Rowe. That one just rattles out. Potter with a long-range pass. McDonald has a few ahead of her, so gives it off to Clinch Hoycard. That one doesn't fall. Nicholson off and running now. And she gets in the way of McDonald. Offensive foul. The Australian Sports Commission and the Australian Institute of Sport recognise the outstanding contribution Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander people make to society and sport in Australia, and are proud to support Basketball Australia and the Cygnett WNBL Indigenous round. It is, of course, a great opportunity to celebrate the power of sport to promote reconciliation, reduce inequality, and make sport a positive, welcoming place for everyone. Visit ausport.gov.au to find out how the ASC and AIS are enhancing their connection with Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander peoples, communities and cultures, and helping sport across the country to do the same. And of course, this time out is brought to you by Cygnett, Australian-owned, Australian-designed. Cygnett is powering the WNBL with its extensive range of digital accessories, including power banks, charging cables, wall chargers, and so much more. Cygnett is powering up your favourite players this season on and off the court. Power every movement with Australia's #1 digital accessories brand. Visit cygnett.com. As we see both teams in a timeout. Perth 25 leading Sydney 21. Just over 5.5 minutes, just less than 5.5 minutes to play in this second period. And the Flames have started to get on top a bit in this game despite still not leading, Mark.
Well, they've been using the matchup of Kayla George and whoever is guarding her. So they're defensively in a pick and roll. They're in what's called a drops defense. So whoever's guarding Kayla George is trying to get in the road of the ball handler coming off. But then when Kayla George pops out to the three-point line, because she's got that type of range on her shot, it's putting Kayla's defender in a bind. Like, does she stay in the road of the guard or does she go with Kayla?
So Gorman now into Potter. McDonald. Maley for 3. Potter, good strong rebound. Gives it back to Annalie Maley. She can't get the shot to go. This time George with the strong hands, and Rowe nearly didn't expect it. Managed to keep it with Sydney. Bradley, nowhere to go at the moment. McDonald wearing it like a glove tonight already. McSpadden into Nicholson. Finds the space but can't do much with it. Gets the screen from McSpadden and it allows her to get a nice bucket.
Really good screen, dislodge the defender, and then you've got Lauren Nicholson doing what she does best with that pull-up.
Gorman for a long three. Oh, that is great by Steph Gorman.
Wodonga's own Steph Gorman. Shot 38% from the three-point line in the NBL 1 West season.
NBL 1 Defensive Player of the Year as well. Doing on both ends.
And a smart matchup for her to go to Kayla George, knowing that Kayla will spend a lot of time on the perimeter. It's going to force them to have to change either their lineup with McSpadden on the floor, because they both can't play inside, or potentially play Kayla inside, but you've got less space for her to be able to operate.
So 28-23, the Lynx still hold the lead at home. In front of a great crowd. There's always a great crowd at the Bendat Basketball Centre. Of course, WNBL Indigenous round to open up the season in line with the NBL as well. So great to see the two leagues combining on this as well. McSpadden found Nicholson in some space. Gorman was right there with her, and it affected the shot. Maley gets it back to Gorman. McDonald kicks it out to Maley, who dumps it to Atwell. It'll be a Sydney ball.
I like this move by Guy Malloy, putting Vanessa Panousis back in. She gave you a really good stint as an organiser, an organising point guard, I should say, within that first quarter. So watch her manage the game here in this last 3.5 minutes of the first half.
Tashini to McSpadden. And now Clark. Oh, a nice little spin, but just couldn't get the shot to go. Atwell powering down the court, and that's a great fast break from Amy Atwell.
Straight line drives. She's become such a deadly weapon. I mean, we know that she can shoot the basketball, but for her being able to get to the basket with that type of pace makes it really, really tough to defend.
George, as easy as it like. The two bigs combining there for Sydney. Great experience from McSpadden as well to get to be teammates with Kayla George. Atwell gets some assistance there from Maley, so pulls up for a three. That one just rims out. Nicholson, guarded by Gorman. Finds the space of her own, Lauren Nicholson, and that one can't fall in. Maley into Gorman, into Atwell, and she's off again. Amy Atwell just can't get the reverse to go. Nicholson has to wait for some teammates to arrive. George has a think about it. And Maley, of course, on the bottom of it all. Rolling a pass there to McDonald, who gets it to Potter. It was too hot to handle.
Unlucky there on the break for the Lynx, but I mean, Potter is doing a heck of a job running the floor. She's so mobile for an athlete of 6'5". She's got generally a good set of hands. She covers the floor pretty well, and then she's in control of her body when she's in close quarters as well. She's very rarely blocked. She's able to get her shot off over people or around folks.
So can use this again in that point guard role. Has to get it back to Rowe. Perth putting on the pressure, but Sydney managed to get out of it. Nicholson from the corner. Clark swats it into the hands of Panousis, who gets it to McSpadden. Good hustle there from Sydney. McDonald. Just under 2 minutes to play in this opening half. Trying to get through a mountain of Sydney players and will go to the foul line. Very hard to defend already, Ari McDonald.
Well, it's that change of pace that's at a world-class level, and it makes her tough to stay in front of. It forces you as a defender to have to open up your hips and give up a straight line drive and try to beat her to a spot on the floor where you can level out and get your body back in front, which is hard to do because then her top speed is really quick. So inevitably, she gets on the free throw line 1 in every 3 times that she puts a shot up.
So timeout called here. Perth Lynx 30 leading the Sydney Flames 27. And this timeout is brought to you by CTM Sport. Introducing CTM Sport, the experts in travel management for sports teams. With CTM Sport, your team can leave the logistics to our travel specialists and concentrate on their game. As a part of the renowned CTM group, CTM Sports travel management is designed to outperform the competition. Visit ctmsport.com.au today. So as we mentioned, Perth leading by 3, late stages in this opening half. Amy Atwell's got 11 points to her name. Annalie Maley's 6 points and 10 rebounds. It's the same 2 players that have caused the trouble for Perth, but Sydney have got some superstars in their corner. You can see Luke Logley on screen there. Murphy's seems like he's had enough already climbing out of the seat, but some star power on and off the court for both players, for both teams, I should say. So Perth up by 3. Minute 39 left in this opening half. Ari McDonald at the foul line. Spent some time at the University of Washington and the University of Arizona, then was drafted 3rd in the WNBA by Atlanta in 2021. It's her 3rd season with the Dream, and now she's crossed over to the WNBL. And she's already proving to cause havoc with her speed and her dynamic work as a point guard. And Annalie Maley, well, she is proving havoc as she has for a couple of seasons. And now she's hustling on the defensive end. It turns into a stop here for Perth. Atwell wrestling with it and got fouled.
Just got to find their way out to half-time here. Keep executing. Try and keep this buffer that you've got on the Flames if you're the Perth Lynx. For the Flames, can you execute and get the types of shots that you want and try and go in with a slim or even a tied game here with 1:24 to go?
So Perth up by 6. Goodchild comes onto the floor for the Lynx, so to Clint Hoycard, and Bradley comes back on for Sydney. McDonald will go to the foul line once again.
And she too, much like I was talking about with Potter, even though she's a completely different position, does a great job of riding contact and then being able to control her body in the air. So not only does she get fouled, but she's a shot at getting a 3-point play. She can finish baskets on that type of possession.
She gets her 3rd point of the game. Just feels like she's done more than that. She's been so prolific every time she's got the ball in her hand.
Well, there's a high level of awareness, especially on the defensive end. So you see the Flames will try and shrink the space around her from people off the ball. And Perth still in this half-court trap.
Bradley. Just over a minute to play in the opening half. Sydney wants some momentum heading into half-time. McSpadden couldn't pull the boards down. McDonald looking for some options ahead of her. Gets Goodchild, and that is great from Mila Goodchild.
And it can come like an avalanche, and that's what makes it so fatiguing to play against the Perth Lynx, is they attack in numbers. They've got 3-point shots, or shooters, I should say, all over the floor. If someone gets their feet in the key, anybody over helping cops a 3-point shot.
And here they go again. It's Goodchild once again on the end of it. This time she has a few players to deal with, and it affects the shot. Bradley has no one ahead of her at the moment. Just waits for the cavalry to arrive. Clark. Nicholson. Here's McSpadden now with it. Bradley comes off the feet of a Perth player, so Sydney with 9.7 seconds left to get a nice bit of momentum.
So if I'm Coach Guy Malloy and I've got a timeout left, I take it here and try and orchestrate a basket. Try and let my team go into the halftime break with some confidence.
The team remains out there. Nicholson. A little hesitation. She's going to head to the line for her troubles.
I mean, good result nonetheless, and this is what happens when you've got an athlete the caliber of Lauren Nicholson on your lineup. She's got the ability to score. We know that she likes to go to her left hand as a preference, but I mean, she's tough going in both directions because she'll ride your contact, she'll try to find your body and then be able to leverage that to get a finish as well. Gets on the free throw line, exactly what they need if she can put these two away.
There's the first one to go for Lauren Nicholson. One of 3 opals recruited to Sydney this season. Yet to see Tess Madgen tonight. I don't think we will see her by the looks of it on the bench. But it's Perth's night so far. Clid Choikard couldn't get the long-range shot to go, but it's been a prolific opening half from the Perth Lynx, giving their home fans something to cheer about. At halftime, they're leading 38 to Sydney 29. Great start from the home team. Sydney with a bit of work to do with the star-studded lineup that they have. With a great opening half from the Lynx. We're going to see some highlights of their best work, and it's mainly done by Atwell and Maley. 11 points, 8 points, and Goodchild got in on the attack with 9 points. What did you like from the Lynx in the opening half there, Mark?
Well, they're playing to their identity. So I was mentioning earlier that they're so hard to defend when they're playing at a rate of knots, because you've got to bring numbers to the ball to try and stop a wide open layup, and it puts you in a position to foul. Or what it does is when you commit more than one defender to that driving player, it opens up the 3-point line, and that's where you get shots like this from the enigmatic Amy Atwell. So she's got 11 points on the board already. She's knocked down a 3, but she's an ever-present threat, as is Steph Gorman. Mentioned she's shot the ball at nearly 40% this past NBL 1 season. So what do you stop? It becomes really, really tough, and if there's any breakdowns on the offensive end for the Sydney Flames, you're giving up a wide open look either at the rim or a wide open 3 for a capable 3-point shooting team at the other end of the floor.
So looking at some beautiful halftime Indigenous round entertainment at the Bendat Basketball Centre, but we'll look at some stats from the game for you just off our own bat, and there's been plenty in the way of the Perth Lynx. Of course, they're shooting at 35% from the field. Sydney in round about the same range, 32% of their own, 100% from the free throw line, which is important from their point of view. But the Perth Lynx have so far been dominating this game.
Well, they really have, and over half of their shots have been 3-point shots. They've only hit the 4, so even though we know that's their identity, they haven't really shot it at a great clip at the moment. So that always is an ever-present threat that can come as an avalanche of baskets at a really opportune time. For the Sydney Flames, they need to get a 3-point shot game going. So they're 1 of 12 at the moment, shooting at just the 8%. I love their efforts on the offensive glass, so being able to get some of their size involved perhaps on that offensive side of the floor when their offense hasn't been able to turn up the types of shots that they've wanted.
So you can see the top scorers from each team. We've mentioned the work of Amy Atwell already. Goodchild with 9, Maley with 8. And then for Sydney, we've got a trio of players on 6 points in McSpadden, Richards and Nicholson, the captain tonight. And then, of course, look at Annalie Maley, 12 rebounds. The next best for Perth is 2 in Steph Gorman. So she's already dominating in that sense. And then for Sydney, 5 rebounds to Nicholson, 3 for Bradley. And then, of course, a couple of assists for McDonald, Palusis and Bradley. So some players that we expected to light up the score sheet have done so far tonight. But for so far, it has been the Lynx's night. What can Sydney do to come back? We're going to find out after the break. It's Perth 38, Sydney 29.
Use that momentum and power you've created to explode out on your first dribble. Okay, we've got 2 more. 1.
Sometimes as women, we look for perfection as opposed to execution.
The work ethic is important when the players are 40 years younger than you.
Cheers.
Treaty negotiations between our people and the Victorian government are happening soon.
The time has come to put our people in the driver's seat.
A treaty that celebrates and respects our culture. A treaty that listens to our elders.
A treaty that provides truth-telling, better education,
jobs, housing, health and justice for our kids.
Authorised by Amy Rust, First People's Assembly, Victoria. 48 Cambridge Street, Collingwood, Victoria.
Hello, Australia. Want to go for a ride?
A summer heatwave.
has arrived.
This is it. This is what we've been waiting for.
4 spicy nights a week.
It's open season. It's Love Island.
Be afraid, boys.
The power has shifted. The girls are in charge.
What the hell? What the hell?
Surprise! The steamy villain era has arrived. New Love Island. New episodes drop Monday to Thursday on 9 Now.
So we're here today at the Loom in Melbourne, checking out all of the wonderful artists and the artwork that's displayed here, and celebrating the opening round of the WNBL, which also happens to be the Indigenous round. So come have a look at some of the artwork. It's interesting just to, get a little glimpse of the stories and the inspiration behind the artwork. This one's nice. This is one I would have in my house.
This is my first time ever today being at the Loom, and this space is just incredible. It's a credit to all the Indigenous artists out there who put in such hard work.
Yeah, looking forward to playing Indigenous around and wearing the Indigenous jersey. That's something that I always find super interesting. As with all the other paintings here, all Indigenous artwork has a story behind it.
You can't be what you can't see. To have representation and then know that, our mob are watching and they're seeing our culture being celebrated.
Being a proud Indigenous woman, my job is not only to go out and play basketball and perform to the best of my abilities, but to inspire the youth and give them something to dream for and hope for. I know I said the other one was my favourite, but I really like this one too.
I'm really proud to represent my family and share my culture with my teammates. That's really important for me, so everyone gets to learn something and feel more connected to where they're playing.
It's probably the one time of the year that I get the goosebumps out on the court. I get really excited, and just to see the celebration pre-game, to then be involved in these elite games as well. It's the time of the year I really look forward to stand out there and know that I'm representing my culture as well, along with the players that are out on the court with me.
Hi, my name's
Wilson, long range shot from the car park. And Alex Wilson now starting to light things up.
Davo Hickey upstairs.
Love it. He's been exceptional.
Big hit from Evie Cabillo.
Australia, take
take your seats.
You played the game well, you strategised throughout the whole series.
For the biggest night of television.
We have done everything to create a beautiful home.
This year, the Block Grand Finale auction.
Everybody wants you to make money.
Sunday, 5 glorious block stunners go under the hammer.
Sold!
Who
Cannot wait to show Australia.
will
We know what we're capable of. We can do anything.
win?
This is it.
The Block Grand Finale auction, Sunday, 7 o'clock on 9.
Welcome back to the Bendat Basketball Centre, where it's Perth leading Sydney by 9 points. Julia Montesano and NBL1 National Championship coach Mark Alabakov with you. Mark, we're taking a look at Amy Atwell on screen. She started the game so well so far with 11 points and 4 rebounds. What have you liked about her performance so far tonight?
Well, she comes back to the WNBL with more tools in the toolkit. She's got 11 points so far tonight. An incredibly efficient 50% from the field. She's got that looming threat of a three-point shot that she can hit at any time, but it's the development of her driving game, her ability to score through contact and with multiple finishes that makes her a tougher proposition for defenders to try to stop now. And that also puts her in positions to be fouled where she can get on the free throw line and keep all streams of offense ticking over, for the weapon that she is on that end of the floor.
And then for Sydney, we see Guy Malloy and, of course, Renee Garlett. Great news that she's on the coaching panel for them this season as well. What do you think Guy Malloy would have said to his troops to try and get them fired up for this second half?
Well, they're wrestling with the rhythm of the game. When they've been able to slow it to a half-court execution battle, that's when they've looked their best and they've been able to get a bit of an ascendancy on the scoreboard in those moments. I'd like to see more Vanessa Panousis. I think she's done a great job of organising their offense. Perhaps more Kayla George inside, being able to not allow people to just help off of her on the three-point line where she's not making the shots at the moment. Can we put her in positions where she can get a couple under her belt, get her confidence going before we put her back out there? But keep being relentless on the O glass from all other positions. They've only got the 5 offensive rebounds, which is a tie with Perth, and Perth isn't really pursuing the offensive glass at the same type of rate. So, can Emma Clark get involved? Can Lara McSpadden, can Kira Rowe, can they come in and get an offensive rebound or two, maybe a little putback, get on the free throw line, keep the scoreboard ticking over, but then have their defenders be accountable as well?
We are, of course, looking at the Sydney Flames trying to get their season back on track in early doors, I should say. But the official WNBL app is finally here. We don't want you to miss a minute of the action, therefore. For live scores, highlights, all your player and team info and more, download the free WNBL app today. And if you were on it today, you would have seen Tess Madgen on your screen there. She's out of tonight's game with knee soreness, so we won't see her suiting up. And Sydney haven't used too much of their players tonight, so I wonder if they'll go a bit deeper on their bench heading into the second half at Perth. They're firing on all cylinders so far. Anneli Maley very close to that double-double already. 8 points and 12 rebounds. We spoke about Amy Atwell before. Amelia Goodchild with 9 points as well. We know how dangerous she is from the three-point line. So Perth looking to try and get their first win of the season in front of their home fans. Sydney looking to try and show why they had such a big off-season and put that to dividends. For now, it's Perth 38, leading Sydney 29 to tip off this third term. Perth already in the action. The crowd getting up and about. Maley, can she get up and about to start off? Hasn't quite got that double-double yet. Bradley. Sydney looking a bit slow when they go into their offense. Perth, a completely different story. Using all their shot clock seconds. The Flames. Nicholson's fouled on the way in. So a dominant off-season for the Sydney Flames. Of course, we've spoken about their recruits multiple times, but Ari McDonald's one that we shouldn't sleep on as well for Perth. She's had a great start, and she's very active with her hands. Bradley gets it out to Rowe. He gets it back from Nicholson, and Kira Rowe can't put down the three. Maley kicks it across to Atwell. Pulls up. Can't quite keep it going. Maley with her 13th rebound.
And that's what I mean about the ever-present three-point threat of Amy Atwell. I'm sure it was audible over the top of the commentary, the screaming from Kayla George that someone's got to run out and guard Amy Atwell on the three-point line.
So some early fouls here from both teams. Let's see, Amy Atwell just got collided into there by the Sydney defense. So McDonald with it. Up against Bradley. Kicks it out to Goodchild. He's had a good start to this game. Atwell. Good defense there from Lauren Nicholson. That's what Kayla George was screaming for in that previous play. And Laws has responded there, getting a crucial stop.
And this is the beauty of having the likes of Lauren Nicholson, Tess Madgen when she comes into the lineup, and Dee Dee Richards. They're all tall guard types, but all very, very capable defensive stoppers as well. They can score, but then they've got the capacity to take a job to try and stop somebody from making an impact on the game at that offensive end.
Nicholson scoops it to Bradley. That one just rings out. Maley, a long pass there. Goodchild falling over when she passed it.
Probably
one too many steps.
Didn't need to use that spin counter. If she just backed herself to go on her right hand, she could wear the contact and finish on the right. Had a straight line drive to the basket had she have taken it.
So Dee Dee Richards to inbound here for Sydney, former New York Liberty. Missed most of the 2022 campaign with a hamstring injury. Bradley now, one of their other imports for the season. Spent some time with Hobart in NBL 1. Gets it back to Richards. Bradley again. Shot clock ticks down to 6. Jaws provides some assistance there with the screen. Richards had some space but didn't use it well at all. Great defense there by the Lynx.
Outstanding, and being able to rotate on the flight time of the ball, so as it moves, the Perth Lynx defenders are moving and they arrive when the ball gets caught, so they shut down any advantages that the Flames are able to create, and that's where you see a whole lot of late shot clock, highly contested shots.
McDonald loses it momentarily, but gets it back and gives it off to Maley. Splits the defense. Heads to the foul line anyway.
That little crossover that she uses, I mentioned earlier about her navigating space, like that is just knifing to the rim. Being able to change from left to right and keep a straight line, be able to get right into the teeth of the defense. That's trademark Annalie Maley.
15 rebounds already for Annalie Maley. 8 points.
Leather poisoning.
Absolutely. She gets her 9th of the game. Very close to that double-double. You can see for Sydney, they're still stuck with those 3 players on 6 points, so not much damage there done so far. Rowe wants to change that, gets her own rebound, and that's better from Sydney and Kira Rowe.
And that's what I'm talking about coming out of halftime. That's got to be an adjustment. Her being aggressive, and then especially with effort-based plays, like go and get possession again. You can really make an impact with that.
Richards pulls down the rebound there for Sydney. She's fouled on the way in. Some early fouls here for both teams. Lynx leading 39-31. Bit of a low-scoring affair, which I don't know about you, Mark, but I'm a bit surprised about. I thought Perth might have a few points on the board by now, but credit to Sydney for clamping down on defense. Nicholson. Into George.
Great
Dishes
pass.
it to Nicholson. That's perfect vision from Kayla George, and Nicholson's there to finish.
She's a fantastic cutter, Lauren Nicholson, too. And then to be able to come off the back of a great pass by Kayla George, I mean, that's 2 points every day.
McDonald. Goodchild's free at the top of the key, notices her. Maley found some space of her own. Potter swatted it away from George.
Lynx got out of jail in that possession. I thought Potter was too slow to be able to roll to the basket. If she went quickly, there was a 3-on-2 on the weak side of the floor, which would have turned up either a layup or an open 3-point shot. Instead, it was a little bit disjointed.
So McDonald to inbound here for Perth. Potter reaching over the top of George. McDonald gets it back. Dishes it back out to Goodchild. Oh, and she just passed it to Richardson's head. Atwell. Good defense again by the Flames. They're slowly inching their way back in this game.
And it may have to be that. You've got to have an ability to win games slowly if that's what the game calls for. Can you turn this into a half-court battle with Perth, and out-execute them at both ends of the floor? I mean, that's going to be the ticket for the Sydney Flames to get back into this one.
This match is being supported by the First People's Assembly of Victoria, which is negotiating the country's first treaty. If you're an Aboriginal or Torres Strait Islander person in or from Victoria, register with the Assembly today to have your say. As we see a quick basket there, you can help decide the next steps of the journey. So for more information, you can head to www.firstpeoplesvic.org. So Flames get back within range now, and they get another stop here to go. Bradley into George for a big three. Kayla George made for these moments, but not this time around. Potter into Goodchild. Just moving around Rowe with ease.
That's an incredible step through by Mila Goodchild. Just getting control of her body, being able to come to that stride stop and step over the top to her left hand.
Bradley now trying to step through the defense on her own as well. Rowe just took one too many steps. Couldn't relive the heroics that she just had in that last play.
Unlucky, but I like the mentality shift from her. She's being attacking, so we talked about her having the ability to change the game with some effort-based plays. She's got 2 offensive rebounds and putbacks within this quarter. Unfortunately, the travel on that possession, but I like the mindset that she has.
Potter with it now against George. Into McDonald. Getting to work on Bradley and makes it look easy.
That's a tough shot. I mean, that was looking like a defensive win for the Flames, being able to stall the Lynx offense to a halt. And Aaron McDonald showing her class.
Nicholson. George. Back out to Bradley. Goes one way, then the other. Rowe. George. Back into Rowe, and George with the elite vision again. Making Perth pay.
And it's able to change or force perhaps a change from the Perth Lynx. So where they got a whole lot of profit of helping in and sagging in from all other perimeter players on anything that looked attacking, whether it was a dribble penetration or a post feed for the Sydney Flames. Now with the cutting action, it forces those defenders to have to be accountable. And when they're not, or more worried about the ball, then these cuts to the basket become available for you.
Richards able to get the rebound off the missed shot. Allows Sydney to go again. Ticked over halfway in this third term. Nicholson grinding her way to the basket. George, another rebound for her. And she'll get to go to the stripe for 2.
And this is why I like Kayla George closer to the basket. One, it provides a threat because she can score, anywhere within that 8-foot range from the basket. But she's a capable offensive rebounder. When you're in a contest, on the offensive glass like that, it means the ball doesn't leak out as quickly. It means the Lynx can't get it and go at a rate of knots like they have for most of that first half. And now you can wrestle back some of the rhythm of the game.
So 5 points, 6 rebounds for Kayla George, the reigning Susie Bakovic medalist. First game in Sydney colours, crossing over from the Melbourne Boomers. Reunited with her former coach Guy Malloy, and now back to the current coach. A formidable duo, those two. Clinch Hoycard now for Perth to Chivatoni. Clinch Hoycard for a long 3. That is nothing but net from the youngster.
Her confidence grows every year. So she averaged 11 minutes a game last season and was very serviceable as a pick and pop shooter. Great to see her get more opportunity.
Panusa, speaking of getting more opportunities, this time couldn't pop it in.
There's a third offensive rebound to Kira Rowe for the quarter.
Richards trying to make an impact. Speaking of rebounds, Maylee's got another. 16. McDonald. Clinch Hoycard wants to get it back to McDonald, but instead turned it over. So Nicholson can get off and going here for Sydney. Panousis in the corner. Passes it back to Nicholson. And now Rowe trying to get around Gorman. And Gorman just with the 2 active hands on that occasion.
So there where she rides the contact or beats Kira Road to a spot, she's got to wear that blow through the middle of her sternum and then bump back to where she's got a good handshake distance of separation. So then that's not going to encourage her to put her hands in and be whistled for that foul. Can she bump back to a space where she can stay in front of the ball?
Well, to celebrate Indigenous round, the WNBL and NBL are hosting a special basketball community event at the Loom, Melbourne this Sunday afternoon. So players from Southside Flyers, Melbourne Boomers and Melbourne United will be there to sign autographs and take photos. Don't miss out. Secure your tickets now. Visit the Loom Melbourne's website. Here's Panousis. A nice pass to Rowe. Wasn't quite expecting it. Nicholson had her back. McSpadden with the shot clock ticking down to 2. Clutch shot from Lara McSpadden. Plays within 4.
He's made some big shots in this game, contributing on the offensive end.
All of a sudden, Perth fill the clamps with McDonald splitting the defense. This time can't get the tough shot to drop. Clark. Into Rowe, the crowd starting to get on Perth's side, but Sydney looking to respond and try and get into the lead. Maley gets off and running. Can't bank it home. Oh, and a little falcon there almost on the rebound. Oh, clinch Hoika, right spot, right time once again.
And Perth will be dangerous if they rebound the ball facing away and they can hit a shooter. They're a threat from all other positions on the floor.
Smart shot there by Clark, gets fouled, and we'll have 3 shots at the charity stripes by the looks of it. But look at this 3 from Clinch Hoikard.
And that's why an Annalie Maley can be really valuable to your program. She gets you extra possessions. She's got the tank or the engine, unlike anything that I've ever seen in Australian basketball. She just goes and goes like the proverbial Energizer Bunny.
Ryan Petrie looking a bit frustrated there on the sideline. As you can see, Lynx in the bonus. Wouldn't like conceding that foul there. You'd see Potter with the 3 for the game. Gorman and Atwell with 2. So he's just got to start thinking about his rotations now, Ryan Petrick. As Emma Clark continues to put her team within reach of this Perth side. That's another foul shot to go. McDonald now. Gets it off to Maley. Quick pass to Chibatoni. Back to Maley. The quick hands. Will they work for Perth? Let's find out. McDonald on the left. Maley thought about the long 3. Dishes it to Chibatoni. Great vision from Annalie Maley. And Chibatoni's on the board. Panousis now. Under 90 seconds left in this 3rd term. What can Sydney do to get this game on their terms? Clark gets it knocked out of her hands and they'll have another go at it.
I love that she's empowering herself to be more of an offensive threat this season. She's had a stint with the Australian 3x3 team. She's had an incredible NBL 1 West season where she's been a double-digit scorer. She's an emerging player in the national landscape, Emma Clark.
Here she is again. Hands it off to Panousis this time. Potter there for the rebound. Chibatoni. What could she do with ball in hand? Clinch Hoikard. Doesn't go for the 3 this time. Potter. Driving into McSpadden, dishing it out to Gorman. That is nothing but net.
And credit the screen in, that little pin-in action from Chia Batoni. That's the assist that no one will see, but it's the screen that trapped the defender. As Steph Gorman allowed her to get that shot.
Tough shot by Emma Clark. There's not much cheering around the stadium, but you could hear the Flames bench get up and about. I know how much that meant and how much of a show Emma Clark's putting on at the moment. 9 points for her this game. Go with 5 rebounds. Clawing her team back into this one.
Now, if you're the Perth Lynx, you're looking at the amount of time left in the quarter and you're thinking, am I going to go for a 2-for-1 here? So what that means is, will they try and get a quick shot here on this possession so that then they can absorb 1 full shot clock of the Sydney Flames and then end the quarter with possession themselves? Doesn't look like they're opting that way, though.
30 seconds left. McDonald just slowing it down. Canusis applying some great pressure, but McDonald somehow finds a lane and somehow finds a basket to go with it. Loving the work of Ari McDonald so far this game. Clark threw it into the hands of Gorman, and Perth get the stop. So just when you think Sydney get back into it, Perth just somehow managed to show their colours and put themselves back on top in the game. Maley for a very long three. That one just rims out, but at the end of the third term, this game is right in the balance. It's Perth Lynx 56 leading Sydney Flames 47. Do not go anywhere. Quick break and then an action-packed fourth term coming right at you on 9 now. I'm going to go for a highlights first, actually, because we've got plenty of highlights to come, Mark. Can you believe it? Why would you want to go to a break? Look at all these highlights from the third term. Sydney clawing themselves back into this game, but still Perth on top. How do you see it playing out from here? What did you like about that third term?
Well, the way that Sydney started, they turned it into a half-court grind and forced the Perth Lynx to be under the microscope with their half-court execution. And, you know, that at times was paying off, at times, you know, was leaving them a bit wanting and turning the floodgates of the game back into Sydney's favour. It allowed them to get back into the contest. But then, you know, the ever-present threat of that three-point shot, the transition, getting out in numbers, it's fatiguing to have to defend. And then there's such a momentum that can be built when you've got, you know, so many shooters that you've got to run out at that either hit a shot or, like that last possession that we just saw, can dump it straight back inside. You know, and when they hit it, it can be really deflating for a program. So you've almost got to have amnesia if you're the Sydney Flames and just move on to the next possession, play it on its merits, and be able to execute within that play, you know, and then do that, you know, prepared to win the game slowly.
Perth so far looking the goods. Atwell still on those 11 points. Goodchild with 11 as well. Maley 9 points, 18 rebounds, 15 of those defensive. So astronomical numbers from Annalie Maley. But as we look at the
to create an advantage and then kick the ball out and, you know, be prepared to shoot the ball if you've got time and space, knowing that you've got offensive rebounding help.
So Guy Malloy back in the WNBL. His last game, as you mentioned earlier on in the coverage, Mark, was that championship he won with the Melbourne Boomers up against Ryan Petrick's Perth Lynx. He's finding it tough going tonight, but great to see him back. I mean, it was a very emotional departure for him heading back to New Zealand, but he's got a lot of work ahead of him right now because the Perth Lynx are looking red hot, 56-47, leading this one. George dishing it into McSpadden. She'll go to the stripe early on.
A nice high-low look there, going at Mackenzie Clinch-Hoycart as a defender. So it looks like that's been a focal point as well when she's guarded either McSpadden or when she's guarded Kayla George. They've gone inside and tried to isolate that matchup.
So Lara McSpadden back with the Sydney Flames. We know how much success she had at the Townsville Fire. And getting a good opportunity tonight. A 29-point game in pre-season, so she's capable of putting some big numbers on the board. She'll hope to get her team back in this one. Right now, Perth with it. Clinch Hoycart's hit a couple of clutch threes already tonight. This time spins and aims to dish it off to Goodchild, but it gets turned over. And her opposite number one, Nicholson, will take it gladly. Bradley dishing it to McSpadden, able to mop it up. Nicholson thought about the shot, drove in on Goodchild instead, and somehow scooped it in.
Just the start that you would want if you're the Sydney Flames. So this deficit now only out to 5 points.
And it silenced the crowd for the time being as well. Maylee, could she get them back up and about? Up against Kayla George, 2 former MVPs, and this time, Maylee wins out.
Incredibly tough shot to be able to make. To take the contact on the wrist, she's deceptively strong. She's got this almost wiry strength for that type of athlete. I mean, you look at her, she's so athletic, but there's not much of her, but she's got a phenomenal core strength and then ability to be able to, use that phrase again, control her body after contact and still be able to make plays.
So Annalie Maylee, 11 points, 18 rebounds. Gets another point to her name. Captain of the Perth Lynx this season. Will be a great opportunity for her. Nicholson in the corner. Good reply.
Massive shot. Probably an early shot against that half-court trap. But who better than Lauren Nicholson with the corner 3.
Clint Choikar now looking for an option. Gets Gorman in some space and makes use of it. Some fans in the house for the WA player in this NBL 1 season. Of course, we mentioned her defensive prowess as the player of the year while suiting up for Coburn. Originally from Wodonga, as Mark mentioned. Nicholson finds that spot again. Can't get the same result. Good child. Can take it and run. Got fouled as she went in.
And it's so hard to defend that transition when it goes, right? So it goes at a rate of knots, and then you notice that all of the players for the Perth Lynx fan out to the perimeter, but then all of these Sydney Flames players shrink in to try and stop that dribble penetration. So that's where you have that key or 3 mentality if you're the Perth Lynx. Can you get all the way to the rim? And you do every time that you can. But whenever there's over-helping, there's not a whole lot of space to get to the basket. You've got shooters everywhere.
Atwell, speaking of shooters, that one didn't land.
Everybody takes a deep breath. 8 minutes to go.
61 plays 54 at the Bendat Basketball Centre. Always such a vibrant atmosphere in Perth. Noongar country. Bradley thought about pulling up, gave it to George instead. Nicholson has had a few clutch moments herself tonight. Gets it back from Bradley and we'll head to the stripe.
She's an exceptional cutter, and she makes the plays that she sees, not the one that she wants. And what I mean by that is she doesn't force a whole lot of action, Laura Nicholson. So if she sees a lane to cut, she goes. She doesn't try to cut where defenders are. Off the dribble, generally makes good decisions.
We have a timeout called before Lauren Nicholson's able to take those shots. And just like that, she's taken over this game a little bit. 13 points, 5 from 13 from the field, so not shooting that well, but she's getting herself into this one slowly and getting her team back in as well, which is very important.
Well, it might have to be a grind. I keep using that phrase of winning the game slowly. But for everything that you have, if you're the Perth Lynx, you're playing quick in transition, right? But that comes as a cost because you've got to have athletes on the floor. You're probably a smaller lineup in terms of physical size. For the Sydney Flames, that makes it tough to defend in transition because you don't always have the foot speed, but what you do have is the ability to play with length at the rim or competing for extra possessions. So your MO is going to be, do you have a defensive mindset where you try and stem the flow of all of these transitions and play not to lose? Or do you go for broke and go after the O-glass like Kira Rowe in that third quarter, get 3 of them, get a score off 2 of them? I think you've got to play to win, right?
So many factors at play, as you mentioned, Mark. But they're running out of time. 7 minutes, 49 seconds left. 61 plays 54. The Flames keep getting close, and then Perth just hit a few clutch shots and get themselves back into it. So I wonder what the game plan is after that Guy Malloy timeout. Nicholson at the free throw line in very trustworthy hands. Gets her 14th point of the game. Looking right at home in her new colours this season. She's on the board once again. Silences the crowd. 61 plays 56 now. McDonald into Maylee. George wearing her like a glove, and then Clark sent it out of the court. Said, see you later.
Big defensive play. Because you've got Annalie Maley going to a preferred left hand as well. That would have been a certain 2 points had Emma Clark not been alert enough to come across and help.
Good news for Perth is that they get to go again. With Potter. Nicholson was there to chop it off. So they've clamped down on defense out of this timeout, Sydney. Lauren Nicholson, the leading scorer of the game now. Maley with 12 for Perth. McDonald somehow split the defense there. That is elite from Ari McDonald.
It's so hard to do, to go from fast to stop, to be on balance and then put up the little floater with my left hand.
Bradley, that one just loops over. Atwell, off and running. Hasn't scored in the second half. Gets it to Potter instead, wants to share it around. Maley, another rebound. Got fouled. Pulling her team over the line.
We mentioned pre-game, the acquisition of Annalie Maley. You've got a bona fide match winner now that replaces the departed Sammy Whitcomb. Very different style of player, but she can bring you a stack of possessions like that at really opportune times. So, it almost gives you a safeguard of possessions that might not go to plan. You know that you've got a chance to get it back when you've got Annalie Maley on your roster.
McDonald gets it out to Gorman. Having a solid first hit out tonight. Potter, nice pass inwards, which is able to finish off. What can Bradley do with it now? A little no look at a Clark. We'll just move the feet too much. And we'll get some subs. 65 playing 56.
Critical 60 seconds coming up, I think, for the Sydney Flames. If the Lynx can get a basket or two in this next patch of play, you'll probably see Coach Guy Malloy go to a timeout.
Maley. Atwell. Somehow got the pass away to Gorman. Gorman couldn't get the shot down. Perth ball.
And that's what I mean about Annalie Maley, right? So you have a fumbly pass that comes out after the Atwell penetration, a clean look at the three that rims out, so not wholly to plan, but sort of the types of shots that you'd see them get. But Maley's right back in there with her hands, gets the extra possession for them. Now they get to execute again, and it wears you down if you're the Sydney Flames to have to deal with that.
So Potter now into McDonald. Potter tried to roll, but McDonald wanted the shot all on her own. And she just drops those classy shots, Ari McDonald. It forces another timeout. Crowd getting behind the Lynx. 67, playing 56. This timeout brought to you by Ford Aussie Hoops, whether your little one is already shooting hoops in the backyard or simply looking to get out there and give basketball a go. The Ford Aussie Hoops program is the perfect way to kickstart their basketball journey. Ford Aussie Hoops is the perfect introduction to the world of basketball for kids aged 5 to 10 years old. So register today. So a great patch there from the Lynx, Mark. They're looking to take this game away from Guy Malloy. What's his message in this timeout?
Well, I mean, I think you've got to get quicker possessions now. You're running out of time. So it's still only a 9-point game, but you've got to try and get some quick scores on the board to be able to build some confidence in the group. What you're doing on the defensive end, is there something that they've got in their defensive package that they can roll out, an adjustment that they can make, because they haven't been able to wholly gain the ascendancy, from their defensive end of the floor. Do they have a half-court trap of their own? Do they have some type of scheme of helping one pass away, that assists them to be able to be a bit more disruptive? Is there something in the defensive toolkit to try and stem the tide? But you need to pound the ball inside. You've got to relentlessly go to the offensive glass if you're the Sydney Flames.
So 6 minutes 12 left for them to win this game. So much talk about the Flames in the off-season. Tess Magin in, Kayla George in, Lauren Nicholson in. Only 3 returning players from the past season. They'd love to get a first up win away from home, but so far it's the Lynx led by Anneli Maley, causing damage.
That's unlucky, but that often happens if you're that rotating defender when somebody is trapping and you're not above the line of the player that you're guarding. You can be in that position where, if it's a 50-50 call, it's generally going to benefit the offense. But I like the pressure that Perth is putting on Paige Bradley. It's slowing her down. She's got a bit of indecision. She hasn't been able to get them fluidly into the offense for probably the most of the game. Or when the ball's out of her hands like this and it's got to come back in, now we're down to 16 seconds. There's been nothing disruptive that's happened on the offensive end.
Richards kicks it back out to Rowe. That one just a bit too high. Maley, McDonald, you know what happens here? It's a bucket.
Showing off all the tools, Ari McDonald. She had the assist to Potter. She had that three-point shot, now getting on the rim. Coming out to play when it's winning time.
Just like that, she's out to 13 points, McDonald. But Sydney just keeping in touch once again. Sorry, 15 points for Ari McDonald now. Equal with Lauren Nicholson as the highest point scorers of the game. Maley with 20 rebounds. Wowee. Atwell. McDonald. Potter one set, but with McSpadden, so McDonald popped it up. Good D there by the Flames.
It's not over. 9 points is still a very manageable margin if you're the Flames.
Absolutely. Less than 5 minutes to play now. Bradley pops a shot up herself, and that's good to go. Just Paige Bradley's second basket of the game. McDonald, on the other hand, 15 points into Potter. Another one goes for the Lynx.
Ooh, pick and pop jump shot. It's handy if she's got that in her skill package.
Bradley dishes it off to the wrong person in Amy Atwell. She's up and running. Feeds Maley. Just couldn't get the shot to go. Nicholson now. Had a really good patch just a few minutes ago. Can she keep it going here? Pulls up from the foul line. Maley once again there.
Bit of a shift in the body language of the Sydney Flames at the moment.
Guy Malloy parading the sideline, just urging his team to give him something. There were pretty good hands there, but it fell into the hands of Gorman, who gets another three to go. And the Perth Lynx are feeling it at Bendat.
Massive shot, and she's had a terrific cameo appearance in this game.
Let's look at that on the replay. That is swish from Steph Gorman. Mentioned how well she shot in her NBL 1 season. We're seeing it on display here in her first WNBL minutes. And just like that, 74 plays 60. And Ryan Petrick will be fairly happy in his timeout, but at the same time, he knows 3 minutes 47 is a long time in hoops.
It is, but they've got more people within the lineup they can go to, right? So you're looking at Mila Goodchild, who's on the bench at the moment, and we know how damaging she can be on the offensive end, or how dangerous, I should say. So if anything looks like it's going pear-shaped, you can add another weapon that's a key or three threat. But for them, they've got to have the proverbial foot on the throat. They've got to go for broke here and not try to defend this lead that they've got, or not try to go into their shell. I mean, stay the course, I should say, to the identity that you have. Being able to play a high-octane brand of basketball. If it's in the half court and you're executing, can you chew a whole lot more seconds off the shot clock before you initiate something going to the rim, and then you've got your key or three reads from there. You've got to try and turn the clock to become an enemy.
Interesting sub there from Guy Malloy out of the timeout, bringing Elise Hurst on for her first minutes of the night. Very late in this contest, so see what she can do.
Elise Hurst, Bendigo girl, exceptional three-point shooter.
Can't wait to see what she does in this 3.5 minutes left to play.
Daughter of the 1989 NBL MVP Joe Hurst, or Jumpin' Joe Hurst.
Jumpin' Joe Hurst.
So a fair pedigree to be able to follow. So
74 playing 60. See what the Flames have got left in them. George up against Potter. Nicholson driving in and scooping it in as well. Much needed shot there from Lauren Nicholson. Panousis just gets in the way of McDonald.
But you like the mentality, like that's the veteran mindset from Vanessa Panousis. Comes in and knowing that she needs to stall, not giving Ari McDonald a running start. Can you slow her up and force the Lynx to have to execute in the half court?
Richards on her now, knows a bit about Ari McDonald, but McDonald knows a bit about getting buckets, and she gets another one to go.
My goodness. Exceptional change of pace. I mean, we talked about it pre-game, being able to drive to the basket and turn on from 0 to top speed here. That change of tempo gets to the rim with one dribble almost from the three-point line.
She is worth the price of admission alone tonight, Ari McDonald. Absolutely lining it up in her first WNBL game. 17 points. And perhaps another one to come here. Makes it 18.
Can we also mention Coach Ryan Petrick, exceptional recruiter, has rarely ever had an import class that he's brought in that hasn't exceeded expectations.
Dee Richards trying to scoop it in, trying to make an impact for her side. The 8 points for her tonight. McDonald. What could she do again? This time Richards was able to stop her. McDonald bounced back. It's been a good duel between these two in the last few minutes.
And a smart matchup, changed by Coach Guy Malloy to put the taller Dee Richards to try and obstruct some of those passing lanes. So, that turned up trumps in that last possession, her being able to reach up and get her mitt in the way of what would have been a certain layup from a bullet pass to Emily Potter.
So another timeout called. Lynx 77 playing Flames 62. 2 minutes 42 left in this one. Time is running out for Guy Malloy and his Sydney Flames, but he's always got a plan, that man. What do you think it is, Mark?
Well, I mean, he's drawing up an offense here to try and orchestrate a particular shot. So you're probably having a swing at a three or something that goes to the three and then gets punched straight back inside to try and get a three-point play, like a finish through contact. It's a smart use of your timeouts. I think you've got the opportunity to try and get a shot that you want, try and get some semblance of momentum back within this game. 2 minutes 42 is still a heck of a lot of basketball to be played, but they've got their work cut out for them. You try to manage as much as you can, as much as is within your control.
See Emily Potter sitting on those 4 fouls. She's been managed quite well tonight. She was in foul trouble quite early, but Ryan Petrick's managed her minutes well to get her to this point.
And you get 20 pinch hit minutes from Mackenzie Clinch-Hoycard where she hits a couple of threes. She's got her 6 points and 2 rebounds, the 3 steals. So being able to cover for the foul trouble of Emily Potter, I think she's done a reasonable job of that, even with the Sydney Flames going at her on the defensive end.
So Nicholson with it. Wasn't hers, couldn't find her. Gets Richards instead, pulls up. Can't get it to go. That one heads out of bounds. Elise Hurst to inbound. As Mark mentioned, Bendigo products. Injury replacement for Shanice Swain, of course, out with that injury, long-term injury, unfortunately for her. It's bound to make waves for the Sydney Flames, but we won't see her in action for a while. God, I'd love to have her out right now as Perth continue their ascendancy. A smart foul there by Richards.
And this is the difference that Amy Atwell has made, within one season. The additions that she's had to her game off the dribble. So 12 months ago, that bounce would have been to avoid contact, and then she would have been defended because the defender's beaten her to the spot. But here she's trying to take a straight line path to the rim, wears the contact, draws the foul, and now there's deliberation about whether that's a clear path foul. It might be an unsportsmanlike.
So 2 shots to come.
And indeed it is.
Yeah. Last line of defense there. Always bound to happen. So Amy Atwell with some freedom here. Lit it up early on in this game. 11 points in the first half. Hasn't scored since, but that's just the depth of the Lynx roster. Having people around her. Steph Gorman up to 11 points. Ari McDonald, of course, we spoke about her so far in this last term. 18 points all of a sudden. Goodchild with 11.
Well, you've got 5 scorers in double digits, and judging out of that River City Rebound preseason series, all 3 of the Lynx games, they had 4 or more double-digit scorers.
And Miatwa wanted more, but couldn't get it. George into Richards. And now Panousis. 79 plays 62. 2 minutes left in this contest. Go again. So it'll be a new look Flames once they get the likes of Tess Madgen back and Shanice Swain, but right now finding it hard. Up against this Perth Lynx outfit. Looks like they're firing on all cylinders in front of their home fans. Panousis shuts them up for a little bit though. Nice shot from her. Here's McDonald on the rebounds. Stepping through once again. Maley for 3. That is good to go.
And that's the key or 3 mentality that we've been talking about. It's an undercurrent of everything that they do, whether it's in transition or whether it's in the half court. Can they get to the tip of the rim or bait you to have to come and help to try to blow up some of those driving lanes? Inevitably, you give up a passing lane out to a capable 3-point shooter who shoots with confidence. And Annalie Maley, she's got an unshakable confidence all of the time.
This looks like we're going to have a fresh 4 come onto the floor here. Chloe Forster into the game for her first minutes, elevated to the main roster this season. Ashley Hannon on for her first minutes as well. We know about her basketball pedigree. Amy Jacobs getting her first minutes as well. And Grace Foster. So a couple of DPs on the floor for both sides, which is great to see. And then we're going to have another debutante here for the Flames come onto the floor too.
Abby Curtin.
Another great basketball name. Can't wait to see what she does with her minutes tonight. 82 playing 65. It's pretty much queuing the rack here for the Lynx, but a great opportunity for these young players to get going tonight. Panousis with it right now. Nicholson, what can she do with it? Gets it out to George in the corner. Hasn't quite worked for her tonight. Forster can get moving here for Perth. Gets fouled on the way in. 2 shots coming for her.
I like her confidence. She's validated by having a cameo appearance last season in a handful of games where she performed in her opportunity pretty well for an athlete that hadn't had exposure to the WNBL level. She's a great driver to the basket. She's a strong builded guard who's able to play through some contact. She averaged 13.5 points, 6 rebounds and 4.5 assists for the Warwick Senators in the NBL 1 West. She'll be coming in brimming with confidence and just believes in herself. And I think that's a credit to her. She could be a sneaky, handy rotational player towards the back end of this season for the Perth Lynx.
Great to see Perth giving some local players some minutes as well. There's Willerton, there's Warwick, all these great WA names on the floor. Panousis making it rain late. Here comes Forster again. And again, fouled on the way in. So she's making a name for herself late in this game. Of course, we mentioned she was a development player, elevated now to the main roster. Ryan Petrick showed his belief in her, and you can see why.
But there's no hesitation, and you can judge that by watching essentially a young athlete in the way that they operate. So she's attacked the basket relentlessly on 2 straight possessions.
Pops her first shot down. And the Lynx are in celebratory mode now. Less than a minute to play in this one. All the Perth locals on the floor getting a go. Panousis. Finding George. Hurst couldn't put a shot down. Hannon with some great hands there. Forster looking for some options. Had Jacobs in the corner. Instead went to Hannon for her first look. That one just falls out. Forster back with it again. Goes on her own. And why not when you're having a good little stint here? Instead, Hurst picks it up and hands it over to Panousis. Under 20 seconds to play in this contest. Hurst with her first WNBL points for the Sydney Flames. Of course, made her WNBL debut with Bendigo quite a few years back now, so great to see her back. But great to see the Perth Lynx back, winning games of basketball in front of their home fans. Proudly wearing their Indigenous round uniform and proudly getting a big win to open their 2023 WNBL campaign over a much talked about Sydney Flames. They get the job done in front of their home fans, 85-71 at the Bendat Basketball Centre. So he's not smiling, but he'd probably be pretty happy with that performance. Ryan Petrick, would you say, Mark Alabakov?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, the Sydney Flames coming in with this calibre of lineup, you'd expected the lineup, the margin would have been far closer, but it just goes to show that it's not easy to get everybody clicking and firing on all cylinders. So for the Sydney Flames, time is going to be what they need to be able to gel and mesh and be able to learn perhaps a new system and some new teammates. They've still got the inclusion of Tess Madgen to come, so there's a bright future ahead for them. For the Perth Lynx, having the beauty of an entire preseason with the bulk of your squad there, it pays dividends in the early stages like this, and being able to have everybody buy in, fit the lineup in terms of the strategy that they like to play in the high-octane style. They've got threats all over the floor. They had 5 double-digit scorers. That's going to be a hallmark of them throughout the course of the season. They're going to upset a lot of teams. I thought they were exceptional tonight and very impressive on the defensive end as well.
And of course, the woman on screen had a bit to do with the Perth win tonight. Annalie Maley, 15 points to go with 21 rebounds and 4 assists. She was just everywhere tonight, wasn't she, Mark?
She really was, and this is a redemption season for her. So she comes into this one in a new set of colours. She's happy, she's healthy, she's able to play with big paddocks and high fences and do what Annalie Maley does. She's a standalone enigmatic talent. She had the 15 points, 21 rebounds, and fits the style of this Perth Lynx lineup because not only can she shoot the three-point shot, and can get hot from that range, but she gets on the basket. She's hard to defend. She gets herself on the free throw line. It's the 4 assists that she had for me too that's really telling. If she can bring in that side of her game where she can get more people involved to go, with her scoring punch, that's going to make them a deadly team, come finals time if they're in that picture.
She loves getting around the fans, as always. Annalie Maley, one of the true characters of the WNBL, always managing to have time for everyone around her. But there were some great highlights to come out of the fourth quarter and the entire game. It was all about the Perth Lynx tonight, lighting it up in front of their home fans. What did you like about what they did tonight, Mark?
Well, it's the identity stuff, right? So they didn't stray from who they are. So I talked about the undercurrent of trying to play key or three, and that was something that they were able to have flow through their transition game or their half-court offense. They didn't look too stalled, and where there was patches where the Sydney Flames were able to gain back the rhythm of the game and force it into a half-court grind, they were able to emerge from that and then turn the game back onto their terms. You had multiple people who were able to carry you within that second half and help get you over the line. So Ari McDonald, who we're watching here, the three-point shot, she can get on the rim, she can play through contact, whether it's in the half-court or in transition right here. She made that beautiful pass to Emily Potter, who's a mobile big, who got involved, hit some shots from the pick and pop. Steph Gorman, got involved as a cameo appearance off the bench, so we know that she's a great defender. That's a storied thing for her, the Defensive Player of the Year in the NBL 1 West, but a very competent catch-and-shoot three-point shooter. You see an entire lineup of people who know their role and execute their role confidently.
And they looked very confident tonight. They did, the Perth Lynx, getting the job done, 85-71. Let's take a look at the stats from full time. The Flames did get going in that three-point column, Mark, but it wasn't enough to get them the win tonight.
Right, and they're a whole lot better a three-point shooting team than that percentage suggests, or that figure, 5 of 26. So you hit a couple in the back end in that fourth quarter, but the game's basically over. So the pressure that you have to face is markedly different than when the game's on the line. So that figure for tonight is a little bit inflated, but I do expect that they're going to be a better three-point shooting team. Once they find their rhythm, they just need time to gel, need time together, get Imagine back into that lineup as well. You're talking about somebody who's got championship experience